Hey guys, what's up? Sam033 here, and welcome to newest episode of Mix Up. And today we're going to be talking about a card from the new Dark Explorer set, and that is, of course, Accelgor, or Accelgor. Sorry if I pronounced it weird in the video. I kind of suck at pronouncing. Accelgor is just a weird name. Accelgor, 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 I don't even know. And no jokes about the first part of Accelgor, because you will be blocked. And yeah, I'll block you. So anyway, this card from Dark Explorers has definitely been talked about a lot in a lot of places, and I definitely think it's got some good potential. It's definitely not going to be best deck in format or even tier 1, but it'll definitely be a fun deck to try out at Battle Roads, which are coming up, and I will be attending them. So anyway, without further ado, let's get to the card of the day, Accelgor. So let's take a look at our friend Accelgor's stats. It has 90 HP, weakness to fire, which isn't too bad anymore. Pressure on the X isn't going to be seeing too much play these days. No resistance, and free retreat, which is always nice. It's 2 attacks for 1 grass, does 20 damage, pretty lame. But its second attack is the one we're going to be taking a look at. Deck and cover for 2 colorless or a double colorless energy. Does 50 damage. It says that if Pokemon is paralyzed and poisoned, and then you shuffle Accelgor back into your deck. Now, obviously, automatic paralyzation is amazing because it completely locks your opponents from doing anything unless they have something like Switch or they're using Vanillux next Destinies. They're not going to be able to get out of that. So that's a great thing, but obviously shuffling into your deck, that's going to be a problem. You can't really consistently do that without some help. So there's 2 deck ideas I've come up with and a lot of other people have come up with that use Accelgor to his fullest extent. The first one is Accelgor, Sunflora, and Vileplume. Now, this one's probably the more obvious one that you'll think of, because of Sunflora's power, Sunshine Grace, you can search your deck for a grass Pokemon once during your turn. So obviously you get 2 of these out, you can consistently do deck and cover over and over again by just searching out Accelgor. And Vileplume is there to prevent your opponent from getting out of the lock or capturing up your Sunfloras and completely shutting down your operation. So let's take a look at this list I've compiled for it. Our Accelgor line is 3 Shelmet and 2 Accelgor, and I recommend the Shelmet from Dark Explorers because this one can paralyze. The one from Null Victories cannot. There is a reason you might want to use the Null Victories one, but I'll get to that when we talk about techs. The reason I'm running 3 Shelmet and 2 Accelgor is because basically if they knock out one of your Shelmet, you're basically going to have to do a deck and cover every other turn, which is not going to be very beneficial for you. And unless 2 Accelgor are prized, there's no reason you should ever have 3 really, because once you get Sunflora out, you can easily search it, and it's not going to be a problem at all. You're never going to have 2 Accelgor out at a time, or you're never going to need it, I guess. Next up, 3/3 Sunflora, just in case any prized shenanigans or catcher Sunkern shenanigans happen. So that's why there's 3/3 Sunflora. 3/2/2 Vileplume, just a decent Vileplume line, just pretty standard. 1 Pichu, just because your setup is kind of awkward. You have to get a Shelmet out, 2 Sunkern, and probably 2 Vileplume as well, and maybe something else, some other things, if you want to tech them in. So Pichu is definitely a good option for that. And Cleffa, just because it's a good card to have in the deck like this. So next we have 4 Pokemon Collector, the same reason we have Pichu. 3 Twins, just because the deck is a little slow, and it's also one of the only cards that can search out double colorless energy. So that's a good reason to put this in. 3 Pont, or Professor Oak's New Theory, or whatever, because it's good. It's good. Next is Sage's Training, 3 of these, just because you can get rid of all those useless rare candies and communications that you are going to have after you get Vileplume out and all the other useless cards, and get the ones you need. And it covers a large space of your deck, which you want to have to get things like double colorless back. Next is 2 Professor Juniper. It wouldn't be a bad idea to change these to more Professor Oaks and Sages. I would not recommend N because in the late game it ridiculously messes up your setup. Like, it is devastating. If you have 2 or 1 prizes left, you're basically screwed if you don't have a Cleffa or something. It's just awful. I've had it happen like multiple times and it is so annoying. Next is Interviewer's Questions at 3, because this can get out your double colorless energy after you put it in the deck with Accelgor. And you can only run 4, so you're not going to top deck it half the time. So Interviewer's Questions is a good way to get those out. The next is 3 Rare Candy because, you know, Vileplume's a stage 2. It's hard to get out. 3 Communication, just because it's always a good card, and you're usually using it before you get Vileplume out anyway. You can use Sunflora to get a grass Pokemon, and then Communication that for some Pokemon that isn't grass. And for the energy, we have 4 Dubcarls, obviously, and 6 grass. This could be changed to any degree, but I think this is a good balance. I have 6 open spots. Now let's talk about techs. First one I have for you is Celebi Prime with the Sky Arrow Bridge engine, just because it helps you set up Accelgor without having to get the double colorless energy every turn. Basically what you do is you use deck and cover, put them in the deck, then send up Celebi of all your Shelmet to Accelgor next turn, and then you attach from your hand to Accelgor, and you use Celebi Prime's Force Breath power to attach another energy to Accelgor. Then you use Sky Arrow Bridge, Retreat, and use deck and cover. So you don't have to get the double colorless every turn, just on those turns that you can't get the 2 grass. So that's the one good one. Next one is Carablast. Now you might think Carablast is just the dumbest thing ever. There's no reason you'd want to run it. It's terrible. You're not even running a Scoutlier, so it's just stupid. But there is actually a reason you want to run. The Shelmet from Noble Victories has an attack that lets you evolve into Accelgor immediately if you have a Shelmet in play. Just search your deck for an Accelgor. So that's a good reason, but I think your bench is too filled with Vileplumes and tons of Sunfloras to fit another bench hogger like Carablast, so I wouldn't recommend it, but you could try it out. Next one is Cincino from Next Destinies. This one could be seen as kind of odd, but basically the idea is every turn that you knock out one of your opponent's Pokemon deck could cover, and Celebi or whatever you're sending up can't really take a hit, you send up Cincino to be kind of a wall. So that say they send up Zekrom with fully powered, then they attack your Cincino and use Smooth Coat to possibly ignore the damage altogether. So that's one reason Cincino could be a good idea. You could also substitute for an attacker if you really wanted it to, if you really need to do some damage. That's about it for the text. Now let's get on to the next list of the day, which is Accelgor and Gothitelle. You all remember Gothitelle, don't you? It was considered really good back in the day, and one of the only cards half decent in emerging powers, but nowadays with Mewtwo EX, it's not that great anymore. Basically the idea with this is once you use Accelgor to shuffle them back into your deck, you send up Gothitelle and lock your opponent from using trainers with its Magic Room ability, and then use something like Dodrio to retreat back into Accelgor and attack with that again. So it's basically the same version of the deck, but you can also use trainers and you don't have to worry about using Sunflora or anything. You basically just use straight draw and such to get out your Accelgor. Just, you know, search it out with Level Ball or something instead of having to use a Pokemon. Let's take a look at a basic skeleton list that I put together. 4/4 Accelgor is basically so it's much easier to draw into with cards like Juniper or anything like that. With 2/2 or something, it could be a lot harder to get it, but like with 4/4, it's definitely a lot easier. And then we have 4/2/3 Gothitelle, pretty standard line for Stage 2. Next we have Dodrio, of course, for free retreating Gothitelle into Accelgor on your next turn. Next is one Clef, that's pretty obvious. This deck would be much more fit for the Noble Victories Shelmet with Carablast idea, since you only cover a few spots in your bench, unlike the last deck with covers your entire bench with junk. This could be a much better decision. Next on to the trainers, we have 4 Pont, 4 Juniper, and 2 N, so you can consistently draw into Accelgor very easily. We have 4 Dual Balls, search out those Shelmet. 4 Level Balls, search out the Accelgor, super easy. 2 Catcher, just in case you want to get annoying Pokemon that's really good against this deck that they're setting up. 3 Rare Candy to help evolve Gothitelle. And for energy, we have 4 Double Colorless. We have 2 Rescue Energy to save those bulky, hard to set up Gothitelles. And 2 Psychic, just in case you want to attack with Gothitelle. I mean, you can attack with it anyway, but to get any sort of power out of it, you're probably going to want some Psychics. In case you want to take out Mewtwo or something. So now let's look at techs. There aren't too many techs that we can include in this deck, but one is plus power since you can use trainers. This will put Terrakion at a 1-hit KO range, which is definitely a good thing to have. So it could just be good against Pokemon like that. And I'd like to talk about a certain card that some people have included in their lists of this deck, which is, believe it or not, Pokeball. Yeah, I didn't make this up. Go to Six Prizes and tell me I'm wrong. They put Pokeball in their list. You know, that stupid little flip a coin if heads search your deck for Pokemon. Never used until now, apparently. But I don't know exactly how well it works, but you could try it out in your list. I haven't really been testing this deck much, so I don't know how well Pokeball would work anyway. But yeah, that's what I have to say about the list for the day. Well, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. I definitely think the deck has some potential. I've tested out the Vileplume and Sunflora variant a lot. I haven't tested out the Gothitail variant at all, just because I don't think it has nearly as much potential as the other one. But the Sunflora and Vileplume one, after some testing, I think it does work pretty well. I don't think it's too slow or anything, too hard to set up all those things. It's just a good deck. It definitely works. I'm not sure if I'd be able to take 6 prizes all the time, but I have been able to win a few games, and I have lost some, obviously, so it's not fantastic. It doesn't win every single battle. I didn't expect it to. So yeah, thanks for watching. Next week I'll be talking about another card, possibly an EX. In fact, it will be an EX, and we'll also be doing a report on my first Battle Road. Hopefully. Maybe I'll be stupid and not. Later, what's up? Is me leaving. Bye.